Good morning, guys. I'm just going to talk to you for a little while on a little bit of fantasy baseball strategy and something that really helps me out a lot. And that is that the Major League Baseball season is a very long season and how to use that to your advantage. I think I've finished a lot higher in all my leagues typically just because I know how to wait it out and know how to keep things in perspective. And it took me a while to learn that because everybody wants to overreact to the first few weeks of the season. So let's look a little bit at where we're at. So I'm looking at the Major League standings, and it looks like, say, the Diamondbacks are 22-11 right now, so they played 33 games so far. It's a 162-game season, so there's 129 games still to go. That is a long season. It already feels like we've been playing baseball for a while to me, just because of how much I've been watching it. And there's lots of people asking me, like, do I panic yet on this guy or that guy? Do I drop him yet, even though he was a high draft pick? Some of those guys that were being named, like Votto, he kind of broke out of it lately. Domingo Santana, he is kind of concerning because I believe he still has 0 home runs. Another guy is Chris Bryant, who only has 3 home runs, when there's lots of people out there that have more than that so far. Even though Chris Bryant's contact numbers are pretty good, his batting average is going up. Sounds like he's trying to become a more complete hitter, but it's bringing his power down a little bit. But what I want to say is the number one thing here with that is keep this in perspective. We're 33 games in. There's 129 to go. So just a few quick past high performers is J.D. Martinez. Just last year, in only 119 games, hit 45 home runs, had a 1066 OPS. So he had not even started playing yet at this point this last year, and he ended up being one of the best fantasy players of this year. Especially per game rate. He was ridiculous. Another guy in the past that really broke out, won Rookie of the Year, helped his team win the World Series that year, and was great at the catcher position is Buster Posey. He only played 108 games in that rookie season of his, and he tore it up for people. Another guy here, I'm pulling up his stats, Trey Turner. Now I know we've debated about him a lot, because both Barry and I don't like how early he's going in drafts. But the season that put him on the map was 2016, when he had 13 home runs, 33 stolen bases. He had 342, had a 937 OPS. He only played 73 games that year. So he would have not even been in the majors yet at this point if it was 2016. So keep that in perspective, is that a guy can still have an amazing season with basically zeros on his stats scores so far this year. It's great if a guy's off to a great start, and there are some really good fast stars out there. Like Mike Trout is one, obviously, but you had to use a number 1 pick probably to get him. Another guy is Mookie Betts, which a lot of people debated. Is he still a first rounder? He's definitely looking like a first rounder now. Ozzie Albies, he's somebody we mentioned in our sleeper videos. How many homers does he have right now? 13? Something like that? And look at these ridiculous numbers. We're 1 month into the season. The season is 6 months long. So all these guys that have 10-plus home runs, I believe all these guys I've mentioned have 10-plus home runs. So if they were to average that for a full season, you're pushing 60 home runs. But 60 home runs has only happened 8 times in the history of baseball. So what that tells you is a guy that's on that big of a tear is due for a correction. So what I'm saying is don't overreact. Stick to your guns. Stick to those players that you know in the end it will all average out for them and they'll have another great season. Just don't give up too early. And that is something that happens too much. People overreact, give up too early, walk away from their teams, just write it off as the guy I picked is falling apart, so I'm not going to move on. All right. So that kind of became my points 1 and 2. Is 1 is don't overreact, and 2 is the next big breakout or rookie year might not even be in the majors yet this year, or might have not even been going. Maybe it's Acuna. Maybe it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Who knows? But it's a long season. Let's see what happens. And my number 3 point is you will pass people up just by not giving up. Just by going like, hey, I'm 8th out of 10 in my league so far this year. First place seems so far away, and I might as well just walk away now and not waste my time with this league anymore. You know what? Everyone else is thinking that. 5th on down. So if you just stick with it, if you're in that bottom, the bottom 5 of your league, you automatically will get up to about 6th or 5th place just by outlasting a few people. And if you stick with us and watch waiver wires, you hang on to your guys that maybe got to slow starts who are due for corrections, you'll go even higher than that. So you've got to be in the game to freaking win. no matter where you're at. So this is too early to give up, just too early. And my number 4 point here is grab up those drop players that people gave up on too soon. Evan Gattis, Domingo Santana, maybe a Ryan Braun. There's a few others out there. I'm just going off the top of my head for this video. But they are starting to get into that area where people are thinking drop. I would say look at picking them up. If you've got bench room, if you've got DL room, if you got room for guys like that. Other guys, as Jonathan Scope has not really had a chance to perform yet because of injuries, and he's off to a slow start. Is watch for those drops in your league, because other people will give up. You can kind of stack your team for the end of the year for those guys that are going to come back fresh. They're going to be motivated. They're going to turn their seasons around and be strong finishers. All right. Now my number 5 point is, even if you end up not winning, don't give up, because you will get a head start on next year. All those guys that gave up, they're going to start drafting next year, like they were drafting at the beginning of last year, and they're going to be behind the times. There's going to be a bunch of guys that just kind of fell off that they think are still good. There's going to be a bunch of breakouts that they've never even heard the person's name before. And there's going to be a bunch of rookies that these guys didn't even know were called up. So this keeps you from drafting like it's 3 years ago or 2 years ago. This keeps you drafting next year like you are actually up on the times. And you'll see this all the time. A lot of guys I was picking because they were great last year, people in my leagues that I play against are like, who? Never heard of them before. And they're doing great for me. Like, how else have I heard of Ozzy Albies? How else would I have heard of, why am I blanking on names right now? But why, I avoided guys that, people were picking too far behind the times. So the main thing here is by just not giving up, sticking with it, realizing how long of a season baseball is, and once in a while doing that math just to say, like, you know what? A guy could be solid from this point on out and still have a great year, even though he's off to a slow start. And keep it in perspective. You will not be looking into dropping those players that would have turned your team around, and will end up turning somebody else's team around if you drop them too soon. All right? So let me know what you guys think of that. If you guys tend to see if your team's off to a hot start, and if not, you just move on to your other team. But I just think there's a lot into sticking with it, passing those other people up that give up, and staying the course. All right? Another Dumb Guys video in the can. Stick with us. Stay dumb.
Dumb Guys!